Recording should be live now.
Wonderful. Well, hello, Salim. It's good to see you again.
Great to see you as well. Thanks for doing this again.
Yeah, my pleasure. So just really quickly, my name is Cherie, in case some people haven't seen our first video that we did last week. Um, and we will be doing this weekly for a little bit until we kind of get some of the topics that you want to discuss and that's some of the questions that I have for you. I'm a constituent in the region in Michigan, District 3. Can you specific? I just
Michigan's 3rd Congressional District. You got
Thank
it.
you. 3rd Congressional District. Thank you. I just blanked.
You're
Um,
good.
so I am really excited to have you running in August. Would love to get more information out there to everyone in your district. We need people to show up at election time in August 6th, actually, is when the voting happens. So one thing that I would love to say before we start is if people could share these videos on their social media or with people that they love or care for, anything to get the word out to make sure that people know about you and what you're all about, that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm just really curious, what did you do? I actually ran into you this week.
I know.
That was so cool. Um,
Yeah.
down at the Calder in Grand Rapids. So yeah, what did you do this
Yeah.
week?
Yeah. So this week was pretty busy. I had an interview with Fox 17, the local Grand Rapids chapter. So spoke with them, why I'm running, topics, issues, all those different things. I think it's probably going to air closer to the election, the primary date of August 6th. And then I went to the Juneteenth event, both in Muskegon. That was hosted by Taking Back Muskegon. That was their first event. Michelle Tyson, she put that on. It was great. Honestly, it was nice to see so many community members out there on a afternoon. So and to see the kids as well out there learning, making it more of a tradition as well to just educate and everything. So was there in the morning, and then in the evening, that's where we ran into each other in Grand Rapids, which I don't know if I told you this story, but I actually had someone that I gave a card to call me the next day, and he is having his 70th birthday party coming up. I think it was Al was his name, Al or Tony. But his 70th birthday party is coming up on July 27th. He's having like a pig roast, 100 plus of his friends. And he was like, Slim, I've never met a politician. I've never, hardly ever see anyone coming out to these events. And yeah, he was like, I really like you. I want my friends to vote for you. So come on out and meet all of them. He's like, you can put a yard sign up, whatever. You got my support. And yeah, I got that call the next day. And it was just, when you do this politics stuff, I was telling my mom about it. You feel like you're talking to just a blank void and like empty space at times, because you're echoing, some of the main points over and over. You're trying to stay up with the current events, and honestly, the average person, you kind of highlighted it at the beginning, but they aren't very up to date with politics, and like it's not at front of mind all the time. They have, they go to work from 9 to 5. They cook dinner, they go to the gym, maybe talk to some friends for a happy hour or something. It's like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, do some laundry, it's like 9, and then they start and do the same thing over 5 days a week. So I mean, that's the main point of doing these videos. That's the main point of me getting involved in politics. Was when I ran in 22, I had so many friends that were like, hey Salim, like honestly, I don't even know what a state rep does. Like what are you exactly running for? And just to highlight those conversations and give someone, give my friends and people in my circle that I continue to build and grow throughout this whole process, they can see someone, man, that guy's at every stinking event. I'm going to pay attention more and get more involved. And there's never a stupid question or a dumb question to ask, because we need to push the discussion. It's too toxic, and people are so Democrat versus Republican, where it's like, we need to just have open discussions and not feel shame or embarrassed for not knowing something, because people have lives, people have daily lives that they're focused on, and things going on. And that's always been the main part for me, is just wanting to talk and have open discussions with as many people from different backgrounds, whatever it may be. So to finish up the question, what have I been up to this weekend? Sorry for the tangent, but the Juneteenth event, then I was at Pride in Grand Rapids all day. That was my second time going to Pride. Grand Rapids Pride, they show out. They know how to put it on an event. But the big thing for me, honestly, with attending was a couple groups invited me to come. And we're like, hey, I'd love to see you. And it's just surrounding yourself with as many people that come from different backgrounds as yourself and just listening and hearing stories. Politics is intense, and being a politician can be intense. It's hard decisions that you're making, but it's important that you talk to as many people as possible and have as many conversations as possible and just listen and hear stories from people. And that's what it was. A long day. It was like 8 hours that I was out there, but that's what it's about, is just listening and hearing stories. So, and then today was getting some mailers out there to people, having conversations again. That's why I got a nice tan going on here. So it was good conversations that I was having in Muskegon today. So yeah.
You also dropped off a sign at my yard, in my front yard. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that. You've been dropping
Yep.
signs off for people this week as well, correct?
Yep. Couple hundred are out there right now. So if people want yard signs, they are free of charge. I'm fronting the cost for that stuff. The big thing with me is I'm just trying to take out this super PAC, APAC sponsored candidate. I want to defeat her and get this BS out of politics. I want to bring transparency back to it all. So I'm fronting the costs so we can just continue to get the word out, and try to, again, just bring transparency back to politics and try to rebuild that trust that people should have in their politicians, instead of feeling like both parties are screwing them over. So, and picking between the lesser of two evils. You constantly hear that discussion. So trying to get away from that.
Me too. Me too. So one thing today actually is the anniversary, the second anniversary of Dobbs versus Jackson. For some that might not be familiar with that, that is when Roe versus Wade was overturned. I happened to have been in DC when that happened. I was at the NASW National Conference.
Yeah.
They do that every 2 years. And so a bunch of social workers that are really, typically pro-choice, we all marched. We left the conference and went to the Supreme Court, and did some protesting. And I'll never forget that. It was very surreal to be there when that happened. And it was very heartbreaking. I remember just feeling so overwhelmed. Like, is this again, like, how are we getting here? What's happening? How are we going back in time? So yeah, just wanted to highlight that and give
Yeah.
that some recognition. And that kind of goes into also another question. So it was the time that we actually sat down together and met, you gave me some information that I didn't know. I was really grateful that you had provided me with this information. It was regarding the Equal Rights Amendment of
Yep.
72, and the fact that Biden has control to it's not so I'm going to let you
Yeah.
actually give the information, but the
Yeah.
other part to that too that I'm really finding very difficult during this election season is that Democrats are running with women's rights right now as their like top issue. And when you gave me this information, it really pissed me off. Actually, I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
another kind of just like another slap in the face for some of us that might
Yeah.
not know this. So yeah, please.
Talk about it.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah.
So it came up when I did the Fox 17 interview, when I've had a lot of discussions with people. So I guess I'll start with just the overall stats when it comes to abortion, because it's a hot topic with everyone. Whether, even if you're pro-choice, pro-life, it doesn't matter. It's a hot topic. So the stats that I've read from Pew Research, there are 930,000 abortions, and the stats were 65% of them, or over 2/3, occur in the first term, and then it was the same percentage that occur for age-wise 18 to 30-year-olds. 2/3 of them are for that age group. So when I read those stats, because I tell people I'm all about freedom and people having the ability to make decisions for themselves, because I understand that is a very hard decision for a woman to make when it comes to making the choice of abortion. And so I don't think there's anyone that is even pro-choice that celebrates abortions, but they understand, and the conversation always comes back to having the freedom to make those tough decisions. And also it's a woman's right, and it should not be men stepping in to make those decisions. But when I go back to those stats, to me, I look at those and I say, wow, when it's occurring with that younger demographic, I'm looking at that more as an economical decision that these people are making because they're younger, and it's early on. So that's why a big reason for me that I support universal childcare, because I feel like when I say that I support that, and if we were to roll some of those programs out, you would see a decrease as well in the number of abortions, because there would be that less, I guess, stress factor for people. Because like I said, I'm 31, and a lot of my friends are married or seeing someone, and the thought of having a kid is so unrealistic for them because of home prices, because of rising grocery prices, and just the overall cost of living, that the thought of bringing a kid in stresses out so many people my age, and doesn't feel realistic. So I tie that into it just because I think it's important to talk about. And I've had discussions with pro-life people, and that's something that they're like, okay, I see where you're coming from with that stuff as well. Now, tying it back into the anniversary with Dobbs and Jackson today, yes, the Equal Rights Amendment, I should probably go into the history of that first. But in 1920, we had the 19th Amendment was passed, women's suffrage, giving white women the right to vote. It did not give people of color the right to vote until later on in the 60s. So it with the 19th Amendment, it did not say that men and women are equal in the Constitution. So that's where you saw the creation of the Equal Rights Amendment Act in 1923, and it wasn't passed in Congress until 1972. But it had a 7-year timeline for that, for it to be ratified by 38 states in their constitution. Well, in 2020, Virginia became the 38th state to ratify it, and clearing the way for it to become law. And the archivist who can make it become law he said that regardless of the 7-year timeline having expired, I will allow it to become law if the president calls me and makes this become law. Trump was president at the time. Barr, the attorney general, said, nope, I don't support this because of the fears of it was transphobic rhetoric of biological males who I'm paraphrasing, I guess, but biological males who have become women going into the bathroom, and those fears is what he was kind of using the logics with. Well, Biden was actually advertising and saying, hey, if I'm elected president, I will approve this. I will approve the ERA. I'll make the call. And I actually joined a town hall discussion or Zoom call with Jill Stein, Marianne Williamson, and then a professor out of Boston, Wendy Murphy, who just gave me the biggest history lesson with this ERA topic. And if you read about it, you'll actually see that people that oppose the Equal Rights Amendment Act have also agreed that if Biden had made the call and made the ERA become law, or made the call to clear the way for the ERA to become law, as it is already ready to go, Dobbs and Jackson would not have mattered. The Roe v. Wade, those protections would be safe, and we wouldn't be having this conversation today. And you see this like boogeyman conversation constantly with women's reproductive rights used by Democrats to honestly just continue to divide and to get votes. And you see it from the Republican side as well, where they try to divide people and say, look at us, like we're the party of lower taxes and giving those economical freedom and making it better for you economically. And it's like, why can't we have both? Like, am I being greedy? Am I being selfish to say that? So yeah, that's the history of the ERA and how people have just, Democrats, especially my party, have been using it as a boogeyman to stay in power and to use it as leverage.
Especially knowing that Biden could have put this in law, and that Dobbs versus Jackson would be, it wouldn't, you're saying that even if that was uh, voted for, it still wouldn't,
So
the
it's the
law would have,
ERA.
like, how
Yeah, so if
would that,
in 2020, Virginia became the 38th state to ratify the ERA. So you
mhm,
need three-fourths of the states to ratify it to make it
yep,
become law. And so in 2020, Virginia became the 38th. All right, it's all clear to go. Archivist is waiting for a call from the president to officially make it law. Um, no call happens. And in 22, the case of Dobbs versus Jackson was leveled up to the Supreme Court. And that's what cleared the way to overturn Roe v. Wade.
got it, got it.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't have even been an issue at all. Okay.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah.
They had 2 years. And they also had the Democratic trifecta was going on as well. But yeah.
Tell me more about the trifecta that you speak of.
The Dems, they had all three, and it's in 2020 to 22. And it's like, you guys make these big promises, and I say this every single time when people talk about politics. It's like voter or politicians just feel this sense of entitlement constantly with voters. Like, you should vote. It's so silly when you hear some of these interviews where it's like, you saw, I think it was with Biden. He says, if you're black, you should vote for me, and like, if you're this race, you should vote for me. And it's like that is so ridiculous to think like that, because as a politician, you earn people's votes by the policies, your voting record, how you show up for people. That's how you earn votes. So this saying an assumption of, oh, if I'm half Arab, so I should get all the Arab votes. No, I'm going to put forward policies that I believe everyone would get behind,
Mm,
and if not, then I don't win. And that's as simple as that.
yeah. Yeah, it really bothers me that, I've got well, what do you think, actually, let me back up a little bit. What do you think about the third party? CNN, for instance, is not allowing for Jill Stein to be on the debate, and I think she would walk circles around both of them,
Yep.
so I think there's obviously a reason for that. But the other part, my other question that I'm really upset about, and I think I might have mentioned this last time that we talked, that I, for a long time, voted out of fear, voted very reluctantly for Hillary.
Mhm.
It's Clinton. I did that for the Supreme Court. That was the only reason why I did that. Um, Definitely did not want to vote for Biden, but wanted Trump the fuck out.
Yep.
Excuse my language.
It's all
So
right.
I voted that way too. I mean, we didn't have very many great options. And now even like Bernie, I was super excited about Bernie, but Bernie is really, I'm very disappointed in him too, through the last 8 months, especially. Um, but it's always been like this, like, everyone there, people are coming at me like, you're voting for Trump if you're voting for third party, and
Yeah.
all this stuff. I'm like, no. And how dare you think that me as an Arab woman is going to vote for Biden? How dare you? Right? Like,
Yeah.
uh, I'm not gonna do that.
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts about that? I really, like, I've had to really change my thought process with this. I believe I'm hoping for a revolution of some sort, quite honestly, that people wake up, they realize that we do have a democracy here and we can call the shots. We don't have to go by this two-party, the better of two evils, lesser of two evil kind of, mentality. So yeah,
Yep.
what are your thoughts about that?
Honestly, when you bring up the debate stuff and just the freedom or limiting Jill Stein and RFK Jr. from engaging in the debate stage, I think about, I can tie in so many different things to that. I think about FISA that we were going to talk about as well on this.
Mhm,
And I think about APAC as well with this stuff.
mhm,
So, short answer, I feel like all four of those, all of the presidential candidates, well, there's obviously there are more than 4 presidential candidates, but I believe that Jill Stein, RFK Jr., Jill Biden or Joe Biden, and Donald Trump are the 4 strongest and have the best chance of actually winning here. So, we compare and talk about Russia, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Alexander Navalny, his Putin's opponent. That was um, you know, he was poisoned. I'm not going to get into who did it. But we talk about Russia as far as suppressing free speech and their oligarchs all throughout the world, and it's like, how are we different now? Because we're not allowing these 4. I mean, I've been going around West Michigan now. I've talked to, gosh, I think I'm north of like 30,000 now of just me directly engagements with people. And whether you want to agree to someone's opinion or not, they're real people that I'm meeting, and they genuinely support those 4 different people that I've met. And so why are you not allowing these people to enter the debate stage? And I also bring up, I saw this the other day as well, where we should look at reforming our debate process as well, because if you tune in on the 27th here for the debate, you're going to hear both candidates denying he's lying, he's this, he's that. Why do we not allow them to have long form discussions and say, if you're going to call them out for something, then prove it. You have to show evidence and show that evidence and allow for more time to prove it. It might take longer, but at least we can get away from the he said, she said type of discussion. And so I guess that's the response that I have for that. Whether you think they have a legitimate shot or not, I think you should allow all of them to get out there and to have their discussions. I also support ranked choice voting, where we saw in Sarah Palin's race over in Alaska. She was a well-funded.
Michigan's
Yeah.
trying.
Yep. But I support that ranked choice voting system because I feel like you would have so many more people that question of why would I vote for that person? It's just essentially giving my vote to the other person. That debate would go away because you're just ranking the top 4 people that you think are the most fit. And yeah, it would move that narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm really happy to see that Michigan is trying to push for that. I think Lansing, Kalamazoo, Royal Oak, and now they're going statewide with that too.
And Whitmer doesn't support it, by the way.
Of course not. Of course not.
No, because she got into control and wants to keep it there. And it's just.
Yeah, she's definitely. That's another whole topic that we could keep on going on about.
I know. My thing with politicians is, I hope I win and everything. And I've said I will speak openly and to what I believe in. And if I lose or get primaried at any point, so be it. Move on with your life or, move on to the next thing. But this whole sticking with whatever the pack tells you, I just can't get behind that type of stuff because me personally, I'm not very religious, but I am spiritual and believing there's a power up there. But I believe that we're going to have to answer to this stuff and you're going to be judged eventually. And to me, I hope I'm judged by having a clear conscience and making the decisions that I always thought were morally best for the country and for the district.
I appreciate that about you a lot, Salim. I really do. I am really tired being gaslit by Whitmer. One of them is, I couldn't believe it, like with all the stuff that's been happening more recently too. She's gaslighting us. And I know that she's got big plans for herself. So I can see that she's kind of playing the field a little bit, playing the game, truly. So yes, you said that you wanted to speak more about AIPAC and FISA. You want to talk more about that?
Yeah, you're definitely, it's weird seeing it now, but you're definitely seeing a highlight of AIPAC. The reason you're seeing it so much more now, because you're seeing there's a big New York race that's going on right now with Jamal Bowman and George Latimer. Hillary Clinton has endorsed George Latimer, or Latimer, however you say his name. And you're seeing much more of the progressive candidates backing Jamal Bowman. The reason you're hearing of AIPAC right now, is because for the first time, they are heavily coming out and endorsing candidates. And
Mhm.
they're endorsing candidates. I could say two things, I guess, with it. One is they're supporting candidates and looking to primary ones that are very anti or have spoken out and been critical of Israel. And they're doing it on both sides, Republican and Democratic. In Jamal Bowman's race, I think the number was about $17 million that they're spending in that race alone. They've already come out and said that they're willing to spend $100 million in the election cycle this year. And they did it in Thomas Massey's seat in Northern Kentucky. He's a Tea Party Republican. Um, they spent, I think it was $400,000 in his race. And he ended up thankfully winning by about 76%. And I bring this up to people because AIPAC, for those who aren't familiar with it, AIPAC is a group of American. Um, uh, they either have ties to Israel, assuming they're of Jewish faith, but they act on lobbying on behalf of Israel. So they are American citizens here. Two big things. One, they are not registered with the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which is FARA. They're not registered as a foreign agent. And the second thing that I bring up, especially with my party, is you heard about Donald Trump and his connections to Russia and Russia's meddling in 2016. Well, I can now read hundreds of articles of AIPAC where their clear mission is to lobby our American politicians on the basis of supporting and putting forth legislation that supports Israel. And they're lobbying on that behalf, and they're not registered as a foreign agent. And they're openly saying that, yes, we'll spend $100 million in your guys' election. And it is terrifying. Like, how is that not foreign interference? I mean, my party cried out about the Russian interference with Donald Trump, and we could get into that stuff as well, but it's hypocritical of us to not call it out as well. And I've had people in my own local parties as well here where I've brought it up and said, hey, Hillary in my race has, you can see AIPAC Tracker has received over $200,000 in donations and gifts from the group and gone on trips. We talked about the last time where she's gone over there. And there's nothing wrong with going over there, but you got to go to both sides. And when you're getting lobbied and accepting money on behalf of a foreign government or to support a foreign government, how are you advertising yourself as a politician that is serving the district when you're accepting that type of money? And it's confusing that my party's just idly standing by and not calling her out on that type of stuff.
I agree with that. I agree. I know that we said that we were going to try to keep it to 30 minutes today. We went a little bit
Yeah.
longer. I feel like we're kind of getting to that place. We're at 28 minutes. Is there anything that you would like to say today before we end our discussion?
Yeah. I guess kind of finishing off the AIPAC stuff,
Mhm.
and especially with the 2-year anniversary of Dobbs versus Jackson. I mean, you can look up articles on AIPAC as well that they've supported and endorsed over 200 anti-abortion candidates, GOP candidates. So this is where these PACs and lobbyist groups play both sides of the aisle. And if you're claiming to be a pro-choice politician, how are you accepting money from a group that is supporting pro-life candidates?
Mm.
So it's a bit contradicting with that type of stuff. And I've talked about their interference on the federal level of in April 16 bills that went forward in Israel-related topics, where we've never had that many bills come forward in regards to infrastructure, education, or anything.
Mhm.
And you've even seen the influence of AIPAC on our state level now as well, with the state senator over on the east side, Jeremy Moss, where him and Governor Schneider even put forth anti-BDS legislation as well. And for those who aren't familiar with BDS, is the boycott, divest, and I think sanction is the S.
Mhm.
Um, but it's essentially boycotting products that are profiting and benefiting, and having locations as well in the illegal occupation or the Palestinian territories, and are supporting this genocide that's going on. And what happened, I believe it was in 2016, but they put forth legislation that makes it illegal to say that you are part of or supporting this BDS movement. You cannot receive government contracts if you say that you support that. And our country was founded on the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all these freedom of assembly, all these different freedoms. And now you can't. We have this legislation where you can't say that you're boycotting this foreign country. I can say F Joe Biden. I can say Donald Trump is this, but I can't criticize
It's
Israel. It's
make it
anti-Semitic.
make sense. Make it make sense, Salim.
And, and even from a religious standpoint, where we have freedom of religion, and I want to tread carefully because I'm not well versed in Christianity or Catholicism, but I believe there's the belief in the New Testament that believes that the Jewish people killed Jesus, I think is the thing. And that was specifically called out in this anti-Semitism bill as well that was passed federally that Hillary Scholten supported. And if you say that Jewish people killed Jesus, that's anti-Semitic is what they declared it. And they even reference the Holocaust Remembrance's website rather than posting an official definition into law of what is considered anti-Semitic. And to me, that's really scary that we're referring to URL links in our bills and legislations, and that Hillary is going along with all of this. She's receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars as well from all of this. And when you're one of the three branches of government that's meant to, at the foundation and at the core of our government system, between the legislative, judicial, and executive branch, the purpose is to criticize and to keep each other in balance. And we're all just going along with this legislation and these bills that are coming forth. We're not challenging them. We're not saying anything, and we're voting for them. And that's terrifying to me. I don't care if it is Joe Biden that gets reelected and I end up winning the seat. I should be challenging people. I should be having discussions and thinking about everything instead of just voting like Hillary has almost 100% of the time with Joe Biden, and that's really scary to me.
I agree. 100%. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. Well, yeah, it's time. We're going to try to keep these
Yep.
again to about 30 minutes so people have a chance to really watch these videos. And once again, I'm asking for people to share these, get the word out about you, to learn more about what your stances are. And I appreciate you taking the time to
Thank
do
you.
this again.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I'm looking forward to next Monday.
Yeah, next Monday we should get into FISA 702, Patriot Act, all that stuff. That's Justin Amash, the former representative of this district, something that he really leans into, and that I agree with him as well on. And I've gotten a lot of outreach that I didn't expect it to be such a hot topic that people were aware of. But that's something that Hillary voted yes on, was warrantless searches. It's a violation of our Fourth Amendment. So yeah, we'll talk about that more next week. But in my race, short answer, I'll be the only person that's actually supporting the end of the FISA and Patriot Act, and looking to repeal that and restore our Fourth Amendment, which is crazy to think about that these violations are going on. So we'll talk about that more next week, though.
All right, wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Salim, and I'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
All right, bye.